You know that feeling, that sixth sense that an ex might start sniffing around? Well, they might be planning to come out of the woodwork. And friend, let me tell you why. We have an upcoming Libra new moon next week, October 21st. And we are coming off of that Aries super full moon where a lot of things got kicked up. And the same day of next week's new moon is actually going to be the same day that Mercury enters his pre-shadow period. So he's going to be going retrograde, Mercury, from November 9th until November 29th. So that's going to be this year. If you're in the US, that'll be around the Thanksgiving holiday. And this particular Mercury retrograde is going to be going retrograde in Sagittarius first, and then it's going to be going retrograde in Scorpio. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and well, Mercury in Sagittarius, it can make people spicy. And Mercury in Scorpio, Scorpio is about emotional depth, deep feeling, the shadow sometimes. So Mercury in shadow, well, people can be all up in their feelings. And so my intuition is that this Mercury retrograde, people going to be spicy, they're going to be in their feelings, and they're going to let you know. And it'll probably be at the worst time and in the worst way. But there is good news here. I think because this new moon is the same day as Mercury going into its pre-shadow period, because what you want to do during that pre-shadow period is clean up stuff. Do what you can to make that upcoming Mercury retrograde less intense. And given the year we've been having, all the feelings everyone's having, I think a lot of things are going to come to a head in November. Things that have been simmering under the surface, unfinished business is going to just really like demand to be finished, to be complete. People are going to take a stand. And so, in terms of your personal relationships, if you have an ex where there's unfinished business, where things have not been said, I believe this new moon is inviting us to clean it up now. Say it now. Repair what you can now. And it depends on the ex, though. I mean, some of y'all, you got exes when you're in 3 feet of them, you lose your mind. You just can't think straight. Your brain stops working. Some of y'all, you got exes where you got to play Dua Lipa's The Rules like on repeat. And if that's the situation, well, let's set up some parameters. Let's set up some fail safes to keep you either away from that person, have your friends, be able to intervene, keep you away from certain parts of town. I'm just telling you, babe, do what you got to do. Just putting it out there. Now, some of you, maybe you have an ex where you think you want to give it another shot. Maybe if they come up around the last couple of weeks of November or during the actual retrograde, it won't be a scary Halloween moment for you like it would for some folks. Maybe it'll be something you'll really welcome. And if that's the case, maybe take this new moon in Libra, those last 2 weeks of October, to think about what you want from that relationship. How do you want things to be different if you do get back together? How do you want to show up differently? Because what's great about Libra is the diplomat. Libra likes to hear all sides of a situation. Libras can have a reputation for being wishy-washy or indecisive, but that's not what it really is. Often with Libras, they just need all the information before they can make a decision that they want to commit to, because relationships are so important to them. And, they want them to last and they want them to be harmonious, peaceful. Libra is always seeking to find balance or harmony. And this new moon is going to be showing us also where we're out of balance. And each new moon, it sets the tone for the following month until that upcoming full moon. So what might be coming up next week or in the next 2 to 3 weeks is anything that where you're out of balance, where you're out of harmony, especially in your personal romantic relationships. So just be aware that that could happen. And if it comes up, it is an invitation to clean it up, to put it in balance, to put it in a good place. That way, it doesn't become this ugly, horrible situation during the actual Mercury retrograde. Use this as an opportunity to get ahead of a situation, and also look at it as an opportunity to get clear on what you want, what you need, what's going to satisfy you. And if you are single, and even if your ex doesn't come back into the picture, you can use this new moon, this Mercury shadow period, to look at what you need, what you'd like to experience in your next romantic relationship. This could be a great time to review what hasn't worked in the past, or maybe some of you need to update your list, your list of what you want in that like soulmate, that divine counterpart. Look at it. And if you're in the camp where you have an ex that's going to come up that you don't want back in your life, you can use next week or the couple weeks after to think about how would you handle that situation if they do, pop up out of the woodwork. If they do give you that Halloween fright, um, what would you say? What boundaries do you want to enforce or implement? I don't really like to say enforce boundaries because sometimes that puts us in I think it can trigger in me at least that fight or flight response sometimes. So what's more important or what's easier for me to maintain my boundaries is to really get clear on what I desire, who I want to be when I'm with a certain person, how do I want to show up? Are they allowing me to show up as my full self? And I find when I focus on that, when I am really clear about how I want to be in that relationship, the boundaries just automatically happen. You know, I create a space where that person can't show up in a certain way anymore. So maybe that's the thing to look at. Um, but either way, this new moon will be powerful, and give yourself grace with whatever comes up. And if you do end up having difficult conversations, be as kind to yourself as possible and be as kind and as gracious to the person you're communicating with as well. I also want to mention too, Venus just entered Libra. And so this can be tricky too for some of you because some of you have very charismatic, charming exes. And when Venus is in Libra, that can amplify the it factor for people. It can make people more charming and more attractive than usual. So if that's a challenge for you with a particular ex, just be mindful, be aware, do what you need to do to navigate that situation. Those unexpected DMs, those inappropriate texts that come when you least expect it. It's just a astrological warning, like the astrological weather. This might happen, it might not. I'm just giving you the opportunity, and this new moon in Libra is inviting you to just set aside some time to look at the possibilities, the potentialities, the different situations that may or may not arise with any exes that may or may not come up. For some of you, you might have more than one because, some of you are just very magnetic. You just got it like that. And, sometimes that's a challenge. And, you just got to roll with it, figure it out, decide who you want to be, how you want to be, and what your non-negotiables are. What are the deal breakers? Use this energy of this new moon to get clear about all of that. And then if you have to have any difficult conversations, I am inviting you. The new moon is inviting you. Mercury's shadow period is inviting you to do it ideally within the last couple of weeks of October. That way you can get it out and get it out in the open, clear the air. And then maybe, just maybe, this Mercury retrograde in November might not be so intense. It might not be as out of control because Mercury in Sagittarius, Mercury in Scorpio retrograde, not the time to clap back. You might end up saying things that you can't take back. It can create a situation where you could ruin relationships permanently. And if that's not what you want, you know, use October as a time to set up the guidelines, the peace treaties, the truces that need to happen in your personal relationships so that you don't have to do it in November where you might get forced into those situations and then you and the other person are just too emotionally volatile to do it in a way that is kind and peaceful and graceful. So with that, send you much love, much grace, peace. Oh, I also want to remind you real quickly, if you got value out of this, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. You could put in the comments, what do we want to put in the comments if this resonated with you? Maybe a justice scale to represent Libra. Or you could just, let me know how this resonated with you. I also do have a Skool community on the Skool platform, Skool. It's the same name as my channel, Moonlife Illuminated. And I have a weekly Q&A where people can just ask questions about the astrological weather. I also have a new one-to-one offer. I call them You Illuminated sessions. So you can send a comment to me if you're interested in that. And also, if you join my Skool platform, I'm going to be holding space office hours once a month, just a 2-hour window. So if people show up to that live, I will work with you live in a group setting, give you like basically a 20-minute astro counseling session where I can maybe help you move through a major obstacle or challenge. And so, yeah, it'll be fun. But if you join the Skool platform, you don't have to participate in that. You can just show up to the weekly Q&A as well. And hopefully I'll be building that out over the next few months. And so I'm looking for ideas from people. So if there are things you'd like to see in that space, it's only $9 a month or $50 a year for that membership. You get the chance to work with other people, other creative entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, creative visionaries, the Mavericks, as I like to call us. And it would just be fun. So feel free to come and play with me. And again, wishing you all the best. And just remember that you are powerful, you are special, and you are loved. Easefully yours, Darice.